In this chapter, we will be discussing nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is defined as behaviors and characteristics that convey meaning without the use of words. It is with the use of nonverbal communication that we convey emotion, maintain conversations, express affection, assert dominance, and much more. Our observance of nonverbal communication can tell us a lot about people. In these two images, we have a professional woman who is slouched and the Fonz from Happy Days, and he is upright and giving a thumbs up posture with a broad smile. Now we could deduce that the woman on the left is unhappy, and the Fonz over there on the right is having a good time. Now, according to the text, there are 10 channels of nonverbal communication, 10 different ways in which we can communicate without the use of words. And these are facial displays, eye contact, body movement, touch, vocal behaviors, use of smell and use of time, personal appearance, artifacts, and use of personal space. On the next few slides, I'm going to touch on just a few of these channels of nonverbal communication. You can refer to your text for the remainder. Now, in this slide, I have included several images of Steve Carell's character, Michael Scott, from the television show The Office. I'm a big fan of The Office. Steve Carell is a master of using facial displays to communicate emotion or ideas. And as you can see from picture to picture, he has almost the ability to exaggerate his facial features to be able to communicate, from the top left of anger, the bottom left of almost a sense of regalness or strong posture. You might see this for an ad for a politician, a similar posture, to the one on the top right where is extreme happiness, and the bottom right where he seems to be pensive. So all of his different facial expressions, his facial features here, really communicate a lot. And if you watch the show, he may say less and have more facial expressions, and that's really where you're getting the communication. Our physical appearance, the way that we dress, the way that we carry ourselves, communicates an immense amount. And here we have a group of professional folks dressed up in business attire, and we can look around at students on campus and perhaps deduce a lot about them just by the way they dress. Perhaps we can tell that they are from a different culture, or perhaps we can tell that they are an artist, or maybe they're a business student, just by the way that they are dressed and the way that they carry themselves. Another nonverbal is touch, and we can see the use of touch in many areas, in sales, in politics, in healthcare, and touch is used in several different ways. On this slide, I have an image of former President Bush and the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and they are shaking hands and posing for a photo opportunity here. And now you can see that George took Vladimir's hand in a handshake, and he rolled his hand to put his hand in a position to be on top of Putin's hand. And this essentially gives him the upper hand, and that is where that expression came from, is that twisting and giving yourself the upper hand and asserting your dominance. And what Putin did to counter that is he placed his hand on top of President Bush's, giving him the upper hand. And you may see this in sales. This is a very classic technique for a sales, like a car salesman. When you walk in and shake their hand, they may almost instinctively roll their hand to assert dominance. It's very subtle, but very interesting. And now that you know that, you'll be able to stand up against it. Now, for folks in law enforcement, the use of nonverbals is critical. And you can see here an officer is conducting a traffic stop. She is she's leaning into the car a little bit. She has her hand on her firearm. She has decent posture. She appears to be keeping eye contact while examining the person's documentation. Their safety is largely dependent upon the way that they carry themselves. They assert their dominance. If you watch police officers walk into a room, even when you're at a restaurant, chances are they will be very erect. Their shoulders will be back. They will be sweeping the room and maybe making eye contact with people. But the way that they carry themselves is intended to assert dominance. And it is in this dominance that they are able to maintain their own safety. I think another interesting aspect of nonverbal communication with regard to movements and gestures is the use of emblems in different cultures. And each culture has different emblems, be it for to show anger or whatever. Here we have once again President Bush. I seem to be picking on him a lot in my slides here, but he is waving at a crowd, and he is waving with his left hand, which to us in America we probably wouldn't notice whether he was waving with his left hand or his right hand. However, in some Middle Eastern countries, waving with the left hand can be seen as highly offensive due to the fact that this is the hand that people clean themselves with while they're in the bathroom, using the bathroom. I have spent some time in some Arab countries while I was in the military, and this is one of the things that I was briefed on, was not to wave with the left hand, as it's a sign of great disrespect, something akin to showing the middle finger to someone here. Here's another emblem that I thought was pretty funny. I forget what this is called, but like the rock and roll horns here. There's a particular name for it. But in the United States, this symbol means rock on, while in Brazil, this implies that your wife has sex with other men. I just found that pretty funny. If we have any students from Brazil, perhaps you can post in a discussion board on whether or not this is accurate. But it was fun. I have some friends from Eastern Europe, and I noticed that when we go out to eat, that they will frequently sit as close to me as my wife does. They sit right, so that our arms are touching in the seats. And I initially found that very uncomfortable, and thought that my one friend was that I had a sexuality concern or something here, when in reality he and his family, they just sit very close to each other, and that is reflective of his culture. He's from Bosnia. In the United States, our standard, we place a lot of value on our use of personal space, and we tend to be somewhat isolated from each other. For people that we know fairly well, we stay at least a foot, sometimes up to 4 feet away when talking. Maybe consider the people that are closest to you and how close you sit to them, or how close you stand when you're talking, or whatever, and think about how far away you are. And in some cultures, the way that we interact with each other, how far we stand from each other in the United States. In some other cultures, it could be perceived as you just don't like me because you won't be close to me. Now, because I'm a counselor, I also wanted to include a note on autism, which is a developmental disorder. It's common for people with autism to have a difficult time communicating with and understanding nonverbal communication. This is actually one of the hallmarks, and so they have a difficult time displaying emotion, maintaining eye contact, or understanding when it's appropriate to maintain eye contact, and congruent speech and body movement. A lot of communication issues with folks within the autism spectrum, especially with Asperger's. They're on the higher end of the autism spectrum with regard to being able to interact with others. But this is one of the things that we work on behaviorally with folks, especially with Asperger's, on how to maintain eye contact and how to maintain conversations with others, because it's a real struggle for them.